What's going on, everybody? Dan here. We're back. Bit of IRL Yu-Gi-Oh! Not done a deck profile in quite a while, but took this to locals and went 3-1. Felt quite good, so I thought it's worth sharing. So we'll dig right in, and then we'll talk about the cards as we go. So to start, 3 vanilla Celtic Guardian. Not much to say, it's what we're building around. Surprising when I went through bulk that I only have 1 of this art, so I used 2 of the old art. It's just a necessary card because we're building around him, but necessary in effect for the next card that's coming. So 3 Celtic Guard and Noble Arms. This is the main monster of the deck. Gives you draw power, and you can attack. Well, it's 2100, 4 stars, and in a deck like this, it helps. So you can't attack while you got cards in your hand. So we'll find out later. We're playing a lot of traps. Once per turn, you can special summon a Celtic Guard monster from your hand, including itself. It still comes under Celtic Guard. And if it inflicts battle damage to your opponent, draw cards equal to the number of Celtic Guard monsters you control. So you're just continually drawing traps, ideally, protecting him, and recurring advantage that way. Played 1 obnoxious Celtic Guard just for another name. It was needed to have the extra name, especially with some of the other cards we're playing, but wasn't really relevant. It could have been any other thing that said Celtic Guard, but this is the only other possibility. We played 3 Barrier Statue of the Drought. It's Earth, it's 4 stars. With some of the other cards you'll see work well with it, but if you didn't open a Celtic Guard, you wanted to open this. And I thought Earth was something we're not likely to see at the moment, not really in the meta. And it lines up well with the attributes of the others. So then draw cards. It's a bit of a random lineup, but I was looking at profiles from past eras. There's an OCG list that topped. So we'll go through them and we'll talk them through as we go. So we've got 2 duality. You don't always special summon. You only special summon pretty much if you're seeing Noble Arms. And we're playing a trap heavy lineup, so this comes up really well. It comes up fine. We can always do one or the other. There was occasional confliction, but most of the time I was discarding this for use of another card to finish the game. Now I'm playing 1 Desires because it's at 1. A lot of the old lists were playing 3 and then tripling up on everything else. So I tried to find a replacement for this to play more copies. So I played 1 Extravagance, which never came up throughout the entire day. I'd rather it be Desires, I'd rather it be a second one of these. Because we're not playing anything specific to play around Extravagance in the extra deck, but if you built the extra deck to allow for Extravagance, it could be very strong. I could quite easily see 3 of these being played. Final draw card, Card of Demise. It's self-explanatory. You want 0 cards in your hand for the Celtic Guard and Noble Arms. This just makes you discard your entire hand at the end of the turn, so you draw 3, discard what you don't need. It's just ideal for the deck. I thought about playing Into the Void to follow this lineup, but you're terrible off the top deck. You don't want to see that. 1 Rotor, again self-explanatory. Adds a level 4 or lower warrior. You're almost always adding Noble Arms. I'm playing 2 Moon Mirror Shield. If you don't know what this does, if you equip it, your monster will effectively always have 100 attack, more than their monster. It encourages battle damage from the Noble Arms, but also you can equip it to the Barrier Statue, and it's very hard to out. You can't destroy it by battle, because it will always have 100 more. And they can't special summon, they can only normal summon, well, they can special earths only. And that itself is enough to win games, sometimes. Played 2 Scapegoat because it's now at 2. I would have played 3 if I could. I think every time bar 1 I was able to resolve this card, I won. The one time I resolved it against Destiny board, literal Destiny board, it still outed it because it turns out it can't deal with the Dark Necrophilia when you put an access code down. But I love this card, it's great, and this is why it conflicts a little with Extrav in the extra deck. You could drop this to play more Extrav, swap the cards around a little bit. 1 Double or Nothing, just for the surprise OTK. Resolve this once, and it's brilliant when you do, but playing with Desires, you do banish it. So a lot of the older lists played multiple Desires, played 2 copies of this. I certainly didn't want to do that with 1 Desires. And it did come up where I did banish it and need it, but you can still close out the games just with pure advantage from the traps. So onto the traps. Playing 2 Trap Trick, just to give a bit more variety to my traps. So I'm playing a lot of 2-ofs, and then Trap Trick becomes the 3rd copy of each. I'm playing 2 Storming Mirror Force. It creates strange game states when you trap trick into this. You can do it at the start of the battle phase to put your opponent off attacking. But even surprise factor, no one plays around Mirror Force these days. Why would you? So it's worked out really well. It came up clutch many times today. My third round was against a Inferno Tempest OTK, FTK style deck. Or OTK, you want to inflict 3,000 to himself to banish all monsters. And then keeps control, and banishes another 15 or 20 with Necroface. And this was fantastic, because he gave me Kaijus, and then I could just bounce the tokens that he was trying to attack with. Came in clutch, really enjoyed it, but obviously it's a Mirror Force, so once the surprise factor's gone, it's not so good after that. 2 punishment, I thought about playing 3, but because I'm playing the Scapegoats, I wanted more extra deck space. Brilliant every time it came up. You don't always go into the extra deck in this. In fact, you don't go into it that often, only if you're going for a kill or you're resolving the goats. So you can plan and play around that very easily. 2 compulse. Very rarely came up. It just took it from the other list. Effectively, I copied it from there. I wanted a good trap. I wanted something that cleared the field so I could inflict battle damage and draw cards. And that did its job. Not much else to say on it. Played 3 copies of Ice Dragon's Prism because it's one of the best normal traps in the game right now. Came up constantly, went for game with it sometimes, use it to take their monster, and then use it to link away with. It was fantastic. Used it to take a snow when my opponent was locked into Earths under Gozum. Stop them protecting themselves for game. It just worked fantastic. What a card. Speaking of which, 2 Gozum match. I had 2 spare slots, and the Gozum, it just seemed the right choice. They are all warriors, apart from the barrier statue, which is rock. So it put me off a little using Rivalry. Tikaboo was definitely a no-no. And as they were all Earth, and you could lock them into Earths, it just seemed good, and it worked really well when it came up. Obviously, I played some single attribute decks. So round 1 was just Darks against the actual Destiny board deck, which I lost to, by the way. And then I won the last 3 rounds, but we played against ABC, so this came up 0 times. Virtual World, it came up in game 1 because I locked him into... He wanted wins, he was locked into Earths under GG. So it came up then, and then round 4 against Inferno Tempest. Never came up at all, he's just summoning a load of tokens. It was sided out a lot today, but it's good, depending on the meta. I played semi-meta, 2 meta decks, 2 rogue decks. 2 Solemn Strike. I'm going to go through and say I would play 2 Solemn, 2 Warning, and 2 Judgment. You can play 3 Judgment, 3 Warning, 3 Judgment, 3 Strike is probably the best option, but I wanted to mix it up. It was a rogue locals. There's not a lot of top tier there, so we weren't playing around too much meta. But I did want to have the Warning hits Fusion Destiny, which is quite nice if it's hard activated. And just based on what road decks can bring, Warning normally does a lot. If you can stop a normal summon, you can stop a lot of their deck. So it's quite nice, but I'm in no rush to include it permanently. I'd be quite happy to swap it out for either of the other Solemns. Let's move on to the extra deck whilst we've been talking about it. So we'll do these 2 last because they come up and will lead us into the side deck. 2 Intis to send off punishment and get an extra pop. It came up a lot. It was fantastic, actually. Even going second, setting multiple into my opponent's field, and then punishment, send Entis, pop 2, and then when they try and negate, hit strike. And you're just in control from there. 1 Utopia double, purely for the Utopia double OTK, 10,000 attack. Came up once. Again, it would have come up once more had I not banished it off Desires, but well worth including. Very easy to get 2 level 4s. Obviously, you can't make it with the barrier statue up, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Then I played 1 Shakanine and 1 Borbo. So you overlay 2 level 4s, and it's Earth, which is very relevant because you can overlay the barrier statue into this. So Shakanine, overlay Borbo, attack directly for 0, and then summon Zeus, main phase 2. Well worth including, but obviously not if you're on a budget. It's very optional. The whole extra deck it can be moved about and played with. Utopia double is the only thing I'd really want to keep mostly. One Baguska, it's an Earth, and it's 2 level 4s. There was this Cowboy, 1 or 2 others, but I went for this. I didn't feel Cowboy was necessary, and it wouldn't have come up anyway. This was more utility. It's a good way to get rid of the barrier statue if you want to carry on playing the game. And then for scapegoat stuff, Link Spider. You normally turn in 4 scapegoat tokens into Link Spider, Link Karibo below, and then all of those into Unicorn with a token, Link Spider effect, using the other token to tribute to summon itself, and then Unicorn and Link Karibo into the access code. It came up a lot. Every time I resolved it, I won bar 1. That's just because access code is a good card, right? Not necessary at all. Can replace with any other OTK card. That's just scapegoat for you. The IP was just utility. Never came up, but I thought IP into Unicorn might come up at some point. I was thinking about playing Security Dragon, and we'll probably swap this for Security Dragon going forward. Or potentially Link to Earth, which will come up to out the barrier statue, depending on if you're using Extravagance or not. Unicorn to spin 1 when you're climbing. This is where the pot of duality was going a lot of the time. I'd scapegoat in the end phase twice, and then twice I top decked pot of duality in 2 separate matches. So it was a discard of Unicorn to spin 1. Then access code. You spin 1 with Unicorn and pop 2 with access code because your attributes in the graveyard are Dark plus Earth from the Link Karibo, Link Spider. And then it's at 53, and often whatever else you've got is game at that point because you're not resolving it turn 1 or turn 2 normally. And then the last 2 cards, which will take us onto the side deck, is 2 Waking the Dragon targets, which never came up. I think I sided it in once. I probably wouldn't include it again. So let's have a look at the side deck to wrap it up. I'm not sure this is in order because it was fresh from the tournament. So 2 Heavy Storm Duster. Set it off Trap Tricks, pops 2, do it in your opponent's turn so you don't lose your battle phase. Just a fantastic card. Whenever this is good in a format, well, whenever this is good in a deck, it works well in the format to hit back rows. 2 Anti-Spell Fragrance. Again, it just covered a lot of matchups. Didn't have anything particular in mind with this, but this deck was built an hour before the tournament, so we were taking what we could get. And I didn't take any spares with me, so once I got there, my side deck was locked in, so I couldn't side some of the other things based on what I knew was at the tournament. There was a lot of Brave, so Brave ABC, Brave, Sword Soul. So I would like token collectors, but this was fine. It never came up. 3 Waking the Dragon. Can set it off Trap Tricks. I wanted to max out if I was going to side it. It was useless, really. Well, it was fine if people were maining back row hate or siding, back row hate, but it just never really came up. I wasn't always committing 5 to the back row, normally holding 1 or 2 in hand at the first turn. I sided in once and didn't see it, but every other time there was better side cards. Playing 2 Inspector Border, just because some decks can't deal with it. Normal summon Inspector Border, especially with Moon Mirror Shield, or backed up with a lot of traps, is GG against some decks. Very good card. I didn't want to main it because I didn't want to take away too far from the idea of using Celtic Guardians. But very good and nice to have in the side. Now, recently off the list, 3 copies of Raigeki. This was great, going second. A lot of decks, so VW ending on just 1 negate in the Baron, well, 1 Omni negate. Double Raigeki cleared it up fast. Paired with the next card, which I'm sure you've just got a glimpse of. It's just a blowout going second, and then you can set all your traps and getting some damage with the Celtic Guard, draw a few more. Fantastic card. Love having this at 3. Final cards, 3 evenly matched. Another generic going second. You do really want your battle phase in this deck, but sometimes this is too much to pass up. I was mostly just siding the 6 of these and going second, and then rarely siding much going first. It's already so going first heavy, the deck. It didn't need a lot of additions. But resolved it twice, and obviously brilliant every time. I even resolved it for 1 card at one point because I was just far ahead. Drawing, having cards in hand. I would always recommend in the side. It's good in this format at the minute, I think. Although I've not been playing a lot of current. Every time I've had it, I've loved it. So that's it, guys. We'll wrap it up here. Let me know what you think of the Celtic Guardian deck profile. I won't bring this out again. I'll probably bring it out again next format at some point. The surprise factor is what wins it. If you're bringing this every week to locals, it would get pretty boring. Everyone would get used to it. And you won't really win so many games from the fact that you're going to normal sub of this, do battle damage, draw a few, and set a load of traps. Please let me know your thoughts below. Comments, criticisms, welcome. Really enjoyed playing it. Love to see you guys give it a try. Let's see what we can do to change it, mix it up. Any comments, even down below. So like, subscribe, anything you can do to support, appreciated. Stan, signing out.